Hey everyone, welcome back to Dave's Open Range. Today we're going to do biscuits. A basic biscuit recipe that is pretty simple and kind of a go-to. We're going to bake them at 400 degrees, got the oven going so it's ready. It doesn't take very long to put them together. And I usually use all-purpose flour, but I don't have any. So we're going to use bread flour, just standard bread flour. Like I said, I prefer to use bread flour for breadsticks and pizza dough, that sort of thing, but for something you want a little more delicate like a biscuit, all-purpose flour is fine. I don't usually sift things, but I do sift the ingredients for biscuits because the baking powder and baking soda can have lumps in it, and that's really bitter if you bite into it. So this is about close enough. That's about 2 cups. Roughly 2 cups of that bread flour, and we're going to use quite a lot of baking powder, roughly 3 teaspoons, roughly 3. You can't measure it or you'll screw it up, so don't measure it. And about a half a teaspoon or so of baking soda, about a half or a little bit more teaspoon of salt. That's really key. If you don't use enough salt, they're pretty gross. And that's it for the dry ingredients. Let's just sift that real quick. Like I said, I don't usually sift things, but I do like to for biscuits, mostly for the clumps in the baking powder and baking soda. All right, give that a quick shot. Good enough. All right, the fat I prefer to use is Crisco and a little butter. So just standard Crisco, and sometimes I just use Crisco. This time I'm going to put a little bit of butter in there too to give it some butter flavor and a little saltiness from the butter. So maybe that's a tablespoon and a half or so. I'm just going to cube that up coarsely. And we're going to put about a third of a cup, I think it's roughly a third of a cup of Crisco. I just like the big dollop on a big spoon. And I'm not big into kitchen gadgets either, but I love a pastry cutter for pie crust, for biscuits, that sort of thing. You can do this with a fork, but much easier with a pastry cutter. These are cheap. I'm going to cut that fat into the flour until it's almost, you almost go by feel like it's granular. And I can tell there's not quite enough. You can feel the fat in there. There's not quite enough. Kind of depends on how you like it too. So I'm going to put, maybe that's probably not even another fourth of a cup. And I'm going to cut that in with the pastry cutter. Not, you have to work it crazy hard, but bust it all up until it's like, you know, BB sized or pea sized chunks of fat that are cut into the flour. Like I said, what's in there, you can kind of feel it. That feels about right. And so I can feel the hunks of butter and Crisco in there. Sometimes I put a little sugar in there. I never put an egg. Some people use an egg in their biscuit. This is just a real basic recipe. We're gonna save for another day. We'll do a gravy recipe to put on top of these when they're done, but not today. All right, so that's about the texture I want. Maybe you can't see that super well, but you can tell it's all that fat is cut in there about right. Now, I like to use a fork to just mix in the liquid. I'm just using 2% milk. Sometimes, I mean, whole milk would be great. Buttermilk would be the best because buttermilk has a little acid in it, and that makes the biscuit want to puff up a little bit more. But today it is standard 2% milk. Fancy biscuit cutter. Sometimes I use a cup or just shape with my hands, whatever. Now I don't really usually measure this either, but you can't put too much in. Once you put too much in, you can't get it back out. And then, like I said, I like to work it minimally. If you work it too much, you can wind up with a a biscuit that's more like pizza dough than a delicate biscuit that, you know, bakes up in layers. I'm just working it a tiny bit. It needs a little more milk. I'd almost rather have them be slightly too dry than too wet. That's close. A little more. You can see I'm just kind of flopping it over, folding it around. I'm not really stirring it. There, that's perfect. It's a little tiny bit wet maybe, but that's about good. So that's all I'm gonna work it right there. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little flour on a little bit of flour on the counter, not much because it's pretty dry. It's gonna want to tend not to stick anyway. I'm just gonna flop it out like that and just work it a little bit, just that much. I'm not gonna knead it at all. Obviously, if this was pizza crust, I'd be kneading it for 10 minutes. And I just pat it out. I don't roll it. Pat it out. That's maybe let's see, that's maybe 3/4 of an inch or so. It's about that thick. Make them as thick as you want. Doesn't matter that much. Okay, little flour on the cutter. And let me talk a little bit about the sheet. It's kind of important for biscuits and certain things. So this is my favorite baking sheet for things like this. I stole it from my mom. Hi, Mom. It's a base. It's an old steel sheet, so it conducts heat really well. You cannot use airbake. Prefer not to use aluminum. You know, aluminum's going to have that sort of gunmetal gray finish. It will work, but it doesn't crisp up the bottom of the biscuit like just a basic baking sheet. If you want to be a little bit extravagant, you can put a cast iron skillet in the oven while the oven is preheating with a big dollop of crisco or butter fat in the iron skillet. Put your biscuits in the iron skillet and bake them in that, and it's basically a fried biscuit. If you see fried biscuits on a recipe, that's usually how it's done. All right, I'm trying to get as many out of this as I can so that I don't need to rework it into a ball, because otherwise that last batch would be tough. So you can see I just have some pieces and parts. I'm just gonna ball that up real quick and shape it. I'll cut one out of that, and then I'll just take the rest of this stuff and shape it loosely into a hockey puck size. Okay. Sometimes that's all there is to it. I'm gonna put them in the oven in just a sec. It's not quite 400. Once in a while I'll brush the top with melted butter. Sprinkle sugar on there if you want. We like them just kind of plain like this with jelly, honey, maple syrup, apple butter is one of our favorites, or sausage gravy. That'll get them in the oven. 400, it's gonna take 10-12 minutes, and we'll check back in with you when that's done. All right, everybody, welcome back. I think the biscuits are done. They're nice and brown. I almost like to overcook them. Not overcook them, but I'd rather they be a little bit overcooked than under and gummy in the middle. So I have not taken them out yet at all. They look right, they look proper, they look perfect. So hot, but you can see the bottom's got slightly crispy. That's good. Biscuits go better on a Hawaiian plate. So if you don't have a Hawaiian plate, you might want to get yourself one. So let's just tear one apart and check out how it's behaving. So you can see they rose not quite double, but they're usually a nice seam in the middle. It's just right in the middle. That's ready to go with the best case scenario is sausage gravy, but we'll save that for another day. All right, I'll have a little list of the ingredients, maybe the recipe, because it really isn't a recipe. It's more about technique than it is ingredients. But thanks for watching, and see you next time on the Open Range.